Greetings, everyone. This is Payman Lorenzo, your host of the Leaders Without podcast. Today, I have yet another amazing guest, my new good friend Claire from the UK, but currently living in beautiful Spain. Claire is not only a true leader with a heart, but an enlightened soul. She has a beautiful mission, which is she works with women, mostly light workers and empaths, so they gain confidence and embrace their gifts. So collectively, we can awaken humanity from its sleeping state. Our philosophy is from small changes, greatness can grow, which is absolutely perfectly said and very beautiful. Claire, welcome to the show, my friend.
Welcome. Thank you for having me.
It's an honor. It's a pleasure. Um, First of all, for people who don't know you, who's Claire?
Oh, who's Claire? I'm just an ordinary woman with the most brightest light inside my heart that I share with
Lovely,
everybody that I come in contact with.
lovely. We're gonna talk about it in a moment, but first, my podcast is called Leaders with a Heart. I'm more interested. Sure, it's important uh, to someone about their professional achievement, but what I'm most interested in is in having a heart-to-heart conversation. I want to know the person. I want to take a look, so to speak, under the hood to see what's inside of their heart, because I'm sure you, like most achievers, have been in many podcasts where you talked nonstop about your professional life, but I want to talk about what's inside of your heart. So first of all, tell us, what makes you happy?
What makes me happy? What makes me happy is seeing other people happy.
Lovely. Okay.
It's it's a joy. It's a joy. It's to see people grow, to people see people excel, to see people just work through their own issues and challenges and to get those ha moments. And but I'm not, I mean, yeah, professionally, but in just in life in general, to see people have real joy, to see the spark in
Mm.
other people's eyes. And it is sad because we don't get to see it as often as we should anymore.
Especially in these days. Oh yes.
Poor.
What's going?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay. What makes you smile?
Everything. Everything.
That's the
It's
best answer.
there's just too much not to smile about.
Life is beautiful. There's so many things to be
Oh,
in amazement and awe when you take the time to slow down and look around you, wonder and what you see around you, and the magnificence of nature, especially at night when you look at the stars, even you go in nature in the forest, whatever. Yeah, you can be blown away.
it's the little things.
Mm.
I don't. I mean, I've got groups of friends. I mean, yes, okay. I'm very into my own spirituality, and I've got a lot of spiritual groups and friends and things. But I've also got kind of everyday friends, if that makes any sense. Not everybody's awakened, and not everybody wants to awake still. So I've still got mixed groups of people. Um, and the ones that are still very much in the head rather than the heart, let's put it that way, the ones that are still living from the head rather than the heart, they think I'm a crazy woman because we can be sat there quietly, having a coffee or whatever, and a butterfly flies back, and I'm like, oh my god, look at that butterfly, and they're just like, yeah, it's a butterfly, Claire, and I'm like, but no, that has so much meaning, that has so much there. It's a butterfly, it's beautiful, it's another living creature, it brightens the day, plus it brings so much energy to the table, so much transformative energy, because butterflies is a good example, because butterflies are a symbol of transformation. So, and it's just those little things when you start actually looking at the messages that we
Exactly.
get and actually seeing them for what they are and acknowledging them and rejoicing in them. It's just amazing. So
And
yeah,
ask
there's
us
everything makes me smile.
and ask yourself, why is this butterfly coming here in front of me to make me smile, to make me happy, to make me stop and wonder.
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
like you said, it's a messenger. Yes, absolutely. What makes you sad and angry?
Lies, deceit,
Mm,
cruelty.
yes, definitely. So we're on the same page. What scares you?
Very little.
Not even the dark or
Myself,
spiders?
probably myself. My complete um my crazy moments where I'm like, oh, that's a really good idea, and then I'll go and do it, and then I'm kind of midway there, and I'm like, oh, but what if what it's I have that personality where those what ifs, it block us, which is a really, it's a really good trait to have, and I teach people to get rid of those what ifs so that they can move themselves forward. But there have been occasions, I have to say, I was my parents' worst nightmare. Because it's that wild child, and I wasn't really wild, I did nothing bad, but it was that abandonment to
Wow.
restrictions, if that makes any sense. So I kind of like, I'd meet somebody. I mean, this is a true story. I met a guy in my 30s, and we double dated. I was set up, and we got on really well. He lived in Switzerland, and he said, "Why don't you come over for the week? There's a jazz festival on. It's really fantastic." Blah 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 blah. And I was like, "Oh yeah, why don't I?" And so I just got on a plane and went.
Nice.
And my parents were in fact in Canada at the time, and they come back, and I was a grown woman, but a single mum as well. And they were like, "Well, where is she?" And my sister was saying, "Well, I don't really know. She's gone to Switzerland." And yeah, but my dad was, "Yeah, but where is she and who's she with?" And my sister said, "Oh, well, she's with so and so, but I don't really know where she is." And it was only when I was on that flight that I thought, "Oh, what if he's not there at the airport to pick me up? What am I going to do?"
Oops.
Oops. So it's probably my biggest fear is myself at times.
Yeah. Wow. That's an awesome story. Wow. Cool. All right. So I want to ask you a fun question. You know, when we were kids, when growing up, especially in primary school and middle school, people always ask us, whether it's parents, teachers, friends. So, Claire, what do you want to become when you grow up? What was your answer back then?
Astronaut was one.
Me too.
Doctor was another.
Wow.
Um, yeah, astronaut and kind of the medical field. Yeah,
Awesome. What was your favorite subject in school?
I hated school. There wasn't a favorite subject. I'm sorry. I'd be lying if I said there was.
Not even anything, no?
No, it wasn't. My father used to say to me, "These are the best years of your life," and I used to say to him, "You reckon?" I didn't. I was okay. I didn't know it at the time, but because obviously I'm of a generation that they didn't have a diagnosis, but I was dyslexic.
Mm.
I was empath.
Oh, wow.
So, and I was the last of four kids,
Mm.
of which the third one had been an absolute terror. So I'd gone through the education system with professors saying, "Oh, well, that's an Atyeo, don't you?" So I had this big question mark already, this big dark cloud over my head before I'd even opened my mouth. It's, oh no. It's so no, I didn't. I didn't enjoy school. So there wasn't a subject I enjoyed whatsoever. I just wanted to get through it and out of it.
Okay. Wow. What was your what was your least favorite subject?
Least favorite subject.
The one you really couldn't stand.
Physical education.
Really? Why?
Because it's interesting, isn't it? Because the oh wow, that's really made me think. I haven't thought about that. There you go. There's something to work through because of all the cool kids.
Mm, yes. School can be quite, quite painful if you're not part of the cool kids,
Yeah, I'd never thought about that. I was always a tubby tomboy, so yeah, I never had that hourglass figure.
Mm,
And I wouldn't say I wasn't part of the cool gang. For some reason, I kind of was, but even though I was, I didn't kind of fit in. And I think as you get into adulthood, you realize that actually everybody that was in that gang didn't really feel that they fitted in.
exactly. Exactly.
So
Cool. So now looking at your life, looking at where you are now, looking at your path. How did you get on your path? Was it a straight sailing, smooth, or was it like one direction and then ding, 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 almost like you know what I mean?
it was one. I don't know if you know anything about tarot reading, but it was one tower moment after another after another. I
Oh,
was in the health profession. Um, I married my childhood sweetheart,
ah, lovely.
um, and there were it it ended very badly.
Mm,
Um, that was the first tower moment. I was a nurse, and I got my first burnout, second burnout, because obviously being empath, I was overextending my energy and I wasn't filling my own cup up. So I was getting burnout. I mean, I've kind of learned about energies now and I understand that and what's actually needed. Um, and it's been a series of narcissistic relationships and
oh wow.
overwork that led me to my point of absolute down the rabbit hole, um, thinking that there was no way of being able to climb out. And that was my awakening, because
Mm,
I just got so tired of picking myself up and dusting myself off and starting all over again. I think you can do it so many times, but then you kind of like, I can't do this anymore. I don't want to do this anymore. And that it was that moment when I went, actually, I can't do this and I don't want to do this anymore. That it was just like, it came in, and
wow.
it opened up for me. Yeah.
You mentioned being an empath. How would you define what is an empath? How do you define that?
An empath, I mean, it's got lots and lots of facets to it, but an
Hmm.
empath is very you basically, we all have our own energetic body, okay? And it's from our energetic body that we obtain information about our environment and the people we're mixing with.
Hmm.
And it's those energy frequencies that come into our body, and then it goes through a process, which I won't go into this because it's really quite long and complex, but it basically goes through a process. It then gets transmitted into the motor neurons, goes up to the brain, gets processed, and then the whole process goes back the way down through and out again. Um, so basically, it's feeling the vibrations. We all communicate and live our lives through feeling the vibrations. Okay, we've all walked into a room. The best way to describe it, we've all walked into a room. Maybe there's been discord between a couple, and we've kind of just walked in and gone, hi, and then we're like, oh shit. I don't want to be here. Because not because of what they say, not because of the looks on their faces or the body language, but because you feel the energy. Okay,
Yes.
so everything is a vibration. We're all our information, the way we function is vibration.
Hmm.
Now, empaths not only feel their own vibrations, but they feel everybody else's.
Mm.
And if you don't know your empath, not only do you feel it, but you also absorb it. And then when you start absorbing other people's lives, because that's basically what you're doing, you're absorbing all their troubles, trials, tribulations, and their joys as well. It has both sides, but then you get this mishmash of everybody that is within your kind of circle, and you lose who you are.
So how do you being an empath, is that something that you're born with and it's an innate, or something that you like any skill you get to learn?
Mm-hmm. It's everybody can be empath at some point. Uh, it's a very complex, because it's about soul evolution. So even though every soul has and will become empathic, it depends on where they are in their journey as to whether they will have that in this lifetime, next time, lifetime, or so on. And so it's very much a belief system as well.
I read something similar. Maybe for some listener that might sound way off, but one of the best comparison metaphor was l- li- uh, life is like a school, and each and just like when you go to college, you select your major, the course you want to take. Before we reincarnate, and each we decide which school we want to go to, and by school we mean which planet, which world. And then, for example, let's say you want to learn, let's say, I don't know, patience or love or compassion or whatever. You decide that before, and then when you go, you learn that just like you would in any school and curriculum. But then there's like, just in school we have grade one up to postgraduate. And the author was making a great comparison. Like, let's take a look at two extreme. On one hand, let's take someone like Hitler, and on the other side, let's take someone from, like, say, the Dalai Lama. So in terms of evolution and soul growth, Hitler would be someone, say, a third grader, whereas the Dalai Lama would be someone, say, in postgraduate studies, is way up there, way advanced. Eventually, everyone is gonna, graduate, but some might take longer. Just in any classroom, there's student that catch right away. A straight A student will even skip classes, but other will have to redo it, take summer classes to catch up. Just like, and these people will have to do another or a few other lifetimes to learn the proper lesson. But eventually, everybody's gonna, you know, graduate. So I just love that comparison because it makes so much sense.
It is. And also another facet to that, which a lot of people find very, very difficult to really get their heads around, is, you mentioned Hitler.
Mm,
Now, when we are making these soul contracts, which is what we
mhm,
call them before we
exactly.
reincarnate, he could have, I'm not saying he is, but he could have been an evolved soul that said, right, I will go down and do that. Because if you look at history, I'm not taking away the atrocities that
Mhm,
happened, but if you move forward post World War II, there were some massive shifts within humanity that actually increased the standard for all. So if I'm kind of looking at British history, but it was after the Second World War that the class system really broke down, and people had, poorer people, the people of the lower class, had an opportunity of higher education.
yes.
People had the opportunity to climb up the ladder, not because of whose family they come from, but because of their own merit, their own hard work.
Mhm,
Our health system, it was birthed. So it's like now, the pandemic, it's very, very hard when we look at the world, what's going on globally. There is a lot of really dark energy going on, really dark aspects. And if we focus on that, it could be really scary. It can make life absolutely miserable. But
mhm,
I choose to look at it that it's actually a birthing process.
absolutely.
And, as the baby goes down through the birthing canal, as it crowns, it goes into darkness. And there is a lot of pain, there is a lot of worry, there is a lot of stress.
Beautifully said. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Just like, the phoenix has to be reborn from its ashes, same thing here.
Yeah.
It has to burn, just like when the farmers, they have to burn the field first before it can
For
grow
the
back.
earth to
To,
refertilize. Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. It's a regeneration cycle. Yeah, absolutely.
And it's
Wow.
beautiful.
Yes.
If we take the fear element out of it and
Mhm.
can just pull back, remove that fear, because as humans, we innately fear change. Okay, and one of the biggest learnings we can actually do, if we do nothing else in the physical life, is to learn to accept change, to learn to
Absolutely.
flow with, have our dreams, have our desires, but learn to understand that we cannot control other people. We can only control ourselves, our own environment. We can't control other people and their environments. And when we actually start to pull back from that and we just focus on ourselves, we get a lot greater flow. We're able to see things with greater clarity, and we're able to step away from that fear that keeps us
Mhm.
stuck.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That makes sense. The more you look into it, the more it makes sense. How how did you get into the world of spirituality? Because I know you're a very spiritual person from the conversation we just had before.
Right, it's always been with me as a as a child. I used to have a lion that lived that was in my bedroom, um, and it's really funny because my sister who is my sister's really spiritual, but she's completely. I'm not going there. I'm closing that door. That scares the hell out of me. So I had a lion, an energetic lion, not a real one.
Oh wow. Oof. I was about to say, oh my
I had a
God.
lion. So I had a spirit guide lion with me that was with me as a child always. Um, and I say that my sister knows as well because she is very spiritual. But she always used to say to me, "If you don't," because I always sleep with a foot out of bed. Um, and she always used to say to me, sharing a room, she said, "If you don't put that foot into bed, the lion's going to eat it." As big sisters do, so she knew, and it's I used to as I've come into my spirituality, I laugh because she's like, no, 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 but I can't tell you how many spiritual encounters she has had. um,
Wow.
but she's in complete denial. That's fine, that's her free will, she's using that, but it does make me chuckle. But yeah, so she knew the lion was there as well.
Hmm.
um, Lots and lots of things. I used to see things, I used to hear things, I used to know
Wow.
things. um but of course society kind of deems that no. So I was told, oh, you've got an overactive imagination, no, that's not true,
Hmm.
that's something else, blah blah blah. So you kind of stuff it down. And then in my teens I dabbled. I dabbled badly, and I think as teenagers, and I'm gonna, if I can say this on this channel because it's very important, because teenagers are, when you're young children, you're open vessels, but you have a protection because you are of that young age. You have a lot more protection. As teenagers, raging teenagers with all those raging hormones and all those raging thoughts that go on, you're very, very susceptible. And so it's not a good idea to dabble.
Mm.
I dabbled, and I dabbled with the Ouija board, the complete no. And I absolutely terrified myself. So it was close it all down, close it all down. Um, and then again in my 20s, I was doing kind of card readings and things like that, but it was nothing serious. It was something that I kind of kept to myself and a few close friends. We'd have a glass of wine and do a card reading, and but it was never
Wow.
pursued. My actual stepping into who I am as a spiritual being happened, as I said, that day that I just kind of just couldn't get up, and I didn't want to get up. And in less than 24 hours, I got a call from a school friend that I hadn't been in contact with for years. And she said, "You're the only person I know in Spain, and I'm looking to buy property. So will you help me?"
Wow.
And she was a coach. She came over. We probably didn't stop talking for 16 hours.
Wow.
And within the first 24 hours of her being here, she was like, "You're a mess." I was like, "Thanks, mate." Um, and she booked me on because obviously being a coach, she's a corporate coach. So, but she used a lot of other people to work through, if she had somebody that had emotional issues, within a team, she would actually send them to a therapist or whatever. And she actually put me into for an EFT, emotional
It's
freedom
amazing.
technique.
Mhm.
And it just went from there. It was real cliche because it was just like, all this weight
Wow.
lifted off me. And
Amazing.
that was the start. It just roller coasted, as it always does. You hear anybody's story when they talk about their spirituality and their awakening, just a roller coaster. It sends you
Yeah.
from one thing to another thing to another thing to another thing. So
Oh yeah.
yeah.
Amazing. Fascinating. You mentioned something that caught my attention. You said when you were growing up, you were seeing things and hearing things. What were
Mhm.
you seeing and what were you hearing?
Right. There was an incident. An incident when I was what was I? That's 7, 8. It was spirit I was seeing. It was
Hmm.
spirit, it was angels, it was all sorts of things going
Wow.
on.
Did you
There
freak
was,
out?
no, no, because it felt normal. I didn't know it wasn't normal. It's only as you get older and you're told, or you speak to an adult and they tell you it's not normal, that you're then like, Oh, right. Okay. Well, it felt normal because children are very accepting because they don't have any programming. They don't know any different. You tell a child that, if you had a child in front of you and I told them that this piece of obsidian was an apple, because you're an adult and they trust you, they believe it is an apple. And they would go through life thinking this piece of obsidian was an apple until they're told it's not.
Mm-hmm.
And this is what is so interesting with our when you get into psychology, and when that we use with healing modalities and things with energy, is also learning to reprogram the mind, because we're told that ghosts don't exist. We're told that there isn't an afterlife. We're told all these things, so we believe it to be true. We're never left to, we're told we're a boy because we have a penis. We're told we're a girl because we have a vagina. We're never left to explore who we are
Mm-hmm.
and what
Yes.
we choose to believe.
Absolutely. Speaking of the kids, I read not long ago that sometimes you see kids having these imaginary friends, and they can be things that we do not see, but they see it can be from spirits or whatever. But for them, it's just natural. They're just like they're talking to as if they're their actual physical friend, but it's not the actual, maybe fairies or whatever, even spirits. I found that absolutely fascinating. And
And
honestly, personally, I don't remember anything. I wish I did remember some of that myself, but when I was a
yeah,
kid.
it's you probably did. You would have. I
Mhm,
suspect most children do. I
mhm.
mean, the one incident that really springs to mind is again at night. I had the neighbour's dog come in, and I remember calling for my dad because my dad was the only one that got up. Mum had 4 kids in 7 years, so she was like she by the time she went to bed, she just kind of killed over, and that was it. So if we needed anything at night, it was dad that got up to us. Um,
Wow.
and I called dad because the neighbour's dog was in my room, and for me, he was actually in the room. I could feel him, I
Wow.
could touch him, I could smell him. He was in the room, and dad turned on the light, and no, there was no dog there. And I was absolutely, yeah, and I can remember thinking, are you a crazy person? Why can you not see this dog that sat on my bed? It's here. What's the matter with you? And he was like, no, 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 it's just a dream. It's just a dream. And I said, no, no, the dog's here. There's something wrong. And the dog belonged to an old lady that lived a few doors up. And unbeknown to me, I went back off to sleep. And I heard my parents discussing the next morning that she had, I can't even remember what happened, whether she had a stroke or a heart attack or something.
Oh, wow.
She'd had a health issue. And when I'd called to say that the dog was in my room on my bed was when the ambulance had been called to her. Right. So yeah, so I actually came down in the morning and overheard my parents discussing that our neighbour had been taken into hospital, the ambulance had been called that time, and there had been an incident, and they were baffled as to how I knew there was a problem.
Oh, wow.
And yet I overheard, being the fourth child, you get a bit sneaky, so I'd actually overheard them. Actually, but they never had that conversation with me, and this happens in so many families with so many children.
Hmm.
They're never, those things that children see are never validated.
Absolutely. That's one thing that I also had an amazing. Well, I mean, all of the guests I have are amazing, but one lady last week, she mentioned that what we need to do is we need to get, because since we're a kid, we're always told to be nice, to be polite, and not listen to our intuition, our gut feeling. And the gut feeling, intuition is basically the soul, the universe, God talking to us. But we told, no, you need to be nice, you need to be polite and not listen to that. But that's not true. We need to be able to listen, because our gut feeling, our instinct is there for two reasons: one, to protect us, and to guide us. And
Yes.
if we shut that down, and instead of listening to that, we look for validation, for guidance from outside, from, say, teachers, boss, government, which are, as we know, not reliable at all. And not, they don't have our best interests at heart, especially the one that start with a G. You know what I mean? The government. So
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
most cases. So that's amazing that you mentioned that as well. Wow.
It's well, it's absolutely paramount that we start to become educated to our real anatomy and physiology, which does include the energetic body, the spiritual body. The problem is we've had massive segregation. If you go back through old cultures, our ancestors, they had an understanding. You go back to kind of Native American or Aboriginal or Druidism, they had an understanding that the mind, body, and soul should be as one. But
A lot of our faculties are being, suppressed, and we're not even using like less than 10% of our capacity, especially mental. We have so many, skills that we're not even using.
yeah, yeah. But it's if you think about how we actually run our lives today, we have education for our minds. Okay, we even have different doctors for our mental health than we do for our physical health. They've separated it. It's been separated. Humanity. And when I say they, it's humanity. We're all to blame because we've all accepted it. But we have separated our mind from our body, and then we give our spirituality to organized religion. So we've, how can anybody function if parts of them are all over the place?
Hmm. Yes, absolutely. It's
We're one, and it needs to be embraced as one.
absolutely. What can each and every single one of us do to get back to start to reawakening our dormant skills within us, especially mental skills?
Mental. I'm gonna say we've got far too much mental skills. We need to get back to heart skills.
Yeah, well, that's what I
it's
meant. Yeah,
it's
you know.
meditation. If you do nothing else, meditation. And I'm not saying you need to sit with your legs crossed, humming arms for hours on end. If you want to, absolutely fantastic. I mean, it's beautiful. But just walking,
Can you
just
do meditation by
take
just can you do meditation just by laying down and closing your eyes?
you can do meditation watching a movie. You can do meditation
Really?
laying down, closing your eyes. You can do meditation walking the dogs. The key is allowing the heart to be open and the mind to just allow it to shift through. Don't get fixated on a certain thing. And what you will find is how many times, okay, perfect one is you're driving. You live in Canada, so when you go for a drive, you drive for miles and miles and miles because it's huge. Okay, so you go into automatic pilot. How many inspirational ideas or aha moments or, oh my God, why didn't I think about that before, do you have when you're driving? And that is because you're in a meditative state.
Or when you're showering?
You've
Or
you've
we
calmed the mind. You've calmed the mind and you've opened the heart, and that inspiration can then come down in.
yeah, or even sometime when you're doing things that maybe not appropriate to say, like let's say doing your business in the bathroom, you have like thought coming to your mind.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. It's, I mean, I've always, I kind of, I'm really, I keep saying I need a little dictaphone with me because I have
Absolutely.
an inspiring idea and then I go into whole conversation mode, how it can do, and the things I actually say in my head when I'm walking my dogs every morning and every evening, I'm just like, oh my God, you're a freaking genius, Claire. The problem is by the time I get back and my logical mind is like, right, okay, how do I process this? The genius part of it is lost. So I always keep saying I need to get myself a dictaphone so I can actually just record it there and then.
But Claire, that kind of technology is already here. It's scary because sometimes you're thinking of something, you go on your phone, you go on your computer, type something, and that thing automatically auto-populate. It's just like almost the AI is reading your mind.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
That's really scary,
it's
you know?
it's right. Yeah, there are lots of things that are going
Hmm.
on that I'm not scared, but I think it needs close observation, because
Mm,
humanity doesn't have a very good track record.
no.
You know, and you know, it's there's I don't want to go into fear mode, but there are things that need observing. But in the same vein, that celestial connection, that cosmic connection, that higher self, that God, whatever you want to call it, because of your belief systems, since we have had this technology, can communicate with us so much easier. So there's that going on as well. So it's not all, you know, it's not all you know, you could really get hung up on the whole conspiracy theories. And, you know, let's be honest, conspiracy theories, even the name was given to us by the CIA to kind of go, oh, they're a crazy Luke, don't listen to them.
Discredit us, yeah.
So because those things are actually happening, but that's a whole nother story, a whole
Yeah.
nother podcast. But it allows that higher frequencies, those energies, to actually communicate. I can't tell you how many times I have thought, right, okay, I'm going to listen to a meditation, and I will kind of plug myself in, and there's a certain frequency that I want to listen to, because again, frequencies can actually stimulate the brain
Mm-hmm.
and bring in that extra energies. And then I kind of get in and I hear something different, and I'm thinking, what's that? I'm like, okay, go with it. But when I actually come to the meditation I was listening to was changed,
Wow.
and there's nobody in the house,
Wow, that's crazy. Wow.
and things get put in front of you. How many times have you thought, oh, I really want to kind of learn a little bit more like that, and then you open your iPad or whatever, or you open YouTube, and there it is.
Oh yeah. More time than I can remember. Oh yes. Oh yes. It's almost like, you know, there's a saying that universe puts the right pieces in front of you when you're ready, but in this case, it's technology, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
But
But
technology is part of the universe as well, I guess.
But
So
everything's numbers. I mean, we're already learning this. Everything is numbers. Everything is a frequency, is a
energy.
numeric frequency and energy. So of course the universe can do
Mm-hmm.
that. It can manipulate it. You know, where all this information goes up to satellites, and where are those satellites? And then it
You
comes
know,
back down to us.
speaking of energy and all that, we, especially in the spiritual world, we hear a lot about raising our frequency. Do you have any tips on that? How we can raise our frequency so that we can be on a path of more positivity and so on and so forth?
Right. Okay. Yeah. Um, raising your frequency is turning up the volume on your own inner speech. Okay. And
Mm-hmm.
it needs to start with you. Everything, if we, every, especially within a lot of spiritual businesses, they kind of talk about, do you know your purpose, your soul mission? And it makes it sound very, very glamorous. The mission is to, without without being extremely blunt, to sort our crap. it's it's to
That's a good way to put it. Yeah.
it's to align ourselves, to understand ourselves, to uncover who we are, because when we start doing that, we then start to be our authentic self. And when we start to be our authentic self, we actually bring in those greater vibrations, and
Mm-hmm.
bringing in those greater vibrations mean that we can bring greater light to the world, which allows other people to think, oh God, look what she's doing, and she looks really happy. So, wow, I don't know what she's doing. It sounds a bit crazy, but it's got to be better from where I'm feeling at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
It gives people that permission. And the so the first thing is to turn up the volume. What mean things are you saying to yourself? And stop them.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
when you're saying mean things because of hurts and pains and sores from past life, past, your past, then heal it, let
Mhm.
it go. You know, all you're doing is carrying around bags that are not necessary. No necessary. That was me going into my Spanish and getting the construction wrong then, wasn't it? So it's just not necessary to carry baggage from the past. But we hold on to it. It was like, oh, I'm going to defend myself, which at the time we needed that. We needed to put those defenses up because we were feeling hurt, we were feeling attacked. But why have you got those defenses up now? Because that situation's past. And this is the problem. We carry this and it becomes heavy. And
You know,
so
that's a
we
that's a
can't move. Sorry.
that's a that's a perfect segue into what I wanted to talk about. You said we carry all this past baggage. You know, yeah, I'm sure you've heard this the saying, "Change your story, change your life." And by story is what we just keep on telling ourselves all the time. So
Yeah.
we all have had to change our story at one time or another in order to step up our game and move on to the right direction so we can get closer to our goals and dreams. I'm sure you've had to go through that. You had to change your stories a few times. So, and when that happened, how did you do that? How did you change your story so that you can get on the right path? You can get closer to your goals and dreams.
One, you have to do the healing, and two, you use mindset, mindfulness, mindset, whatever. Everybody uses different tools. It's whatever. It's my I I'm very fortunate because I'm an empath. I do carry that light. Okay. I know I've
Mm,
always kind of, even in my worst moments, I would, because we can understand that we feel people's energies, and so it always
oh,
make
you
you,
do.
we're natural givers. Okay. And so even when I was in my darkest moments, I would get up and I would put a smile on my face and I would put my armor on, and it was like everything's fine, everything's okay. um and and so it's it's one thing putting the armor on. It's really Louise Hayes, brilliant woman. She did a lot of mirror work, and she was like, you look in the mirror and you tell yourself you're beautiful. You know, if you have self-image problems, and you say it until you believe it. um but it goes deeper than that. You can put that armor on, but you can still feel like jelly inside, and it's changing. It's a process. You have to just keep adding and making it normal. It's changing the programming of your beliefs and values. And sometimes that means you have to go back and you have to look at what happened when you were a kid and how you felt about it. And sometimes when you're doing inner child work, it's hilarious because you can have massive, massive blocks as an adult. And then you go back and you find out what it was. And it was so trivia and it's just
Mhm.
laughable. As an adult, you laugh at it. But as a child, without the without the education, without that knowledge, without that, that cerebral development, for them it was mortifying. But of course, you're holding on and allowing your adult life to be blocked. You're allowing your abundance, you're allowing your happiness, you're allowing your pleasure to be blocked by a 6-year-old. And when you actually take that on board, when you actually really take responsibility for that, you kind of go, well, that's ridiculous. I need to change that.
Yeah,
And it's
that's
those
true.
inner conversations.
Oh,
But the,
yes.
but the one thing I wanted to say, what was it when you were saying about the changes? People, I can't remember exactly what you said regarding the changes. How do you make the changes? Because I was kind of thinking in business with leaders, and the way forward is, oh, you can't everybody wants change, but they keep repeating the same patterns.
Hmm.
Was You didn't actually say it in those words. We keep wanting a new world, but we keep repeating our history, and that is
Yes.
why we need more soul leaders. We need more soul um, businesses. We need that
How do you how
compassion.
do
We
you
need to change it.
how do you break that pattern of always doing the same thing?
How do you break that pattern? You actually look at it. You actually take responsibility for it.
Hmm.
It's um It's actually being brave enough to look at the things we don't like. I did a poem. I got a poem on my channel. We see, but we don't see. We choose
Mm.
to turn away. Okay,
Deep.
and you stop choosing to turn away. You face it. You challenge it, not in a judgmental way, with love, and go, right, okay, because what we don't want to do is create an environment where we're all beating each other up and beating ourselves up over the things we've done wrong, because we didn't do anything wrong. We were in that energy and in that perception, and at the time we did it for what, for the best reasons. But we learn, we develop, we grow. So when we look back, we can see, okay, that was wrong, but we can only see
Yes.
it now in that future space. We didn't see it then, so we shouldn't be beating ourselves up over it. What we should actually doing is going, right, okay, I'm seeing it, I'm choosing to see it, I'm choosing to change it.
Makes sense. Makes sense. That's a fascinating topic. Now, let me ask you a little bit about your business. Tell us about your business. What do you do in your business, and how you help people?
Right, well, I'm a fluky title, female empowerment coach and shamanic practitioner. It's
Ooh.
I laugh because I'm me, I'm Claire. I help women to get in touch with themselves, with their soul, to learn to embrace the magic of who they truly are.
Wow.
Mostly light workers, mostly empaths, not because I've chosen to do that, but because those are the people that divine send me. I am so privileged, the people I've actually worked with, because I look at them when they start to open up, when they start to get rid of all those, in coaching we always say take the layers off the onion, but when they start to do that, and then when you start to really get to see their soul self, I am in awe. I'll be honest, I'm like, why did you send this person to me? Because they are just, wow, they're just gonna, I have had the privilege to work with amazing women that are going to create massive, massive global change in the future. And
Wow.
I'm just in awe. I'm just kind of like, wow, okay, it's such a privilege. But it's everybody has that within them, men and women. I choose to work with women because I understand women better.
Absolutely. So, tell us about the most remarkable example of transformation you've seen from someone going through your program and through your help.
Wow. Oh, there are so many. There are so many. I mean, I've got two in particular. One that's just starting her own spiritual business now. Another one, well, actually, both of them are starting. One's gone into healing. One's gone into the teaching aspect. And these are people that both were in a place in their life that they were worn out, worn down. They had no self-belief. They had little confidence. Um, they just didn't know who they were, but they did know that something had to change. And they worked really, really hard to do that.
Wow.
It's not, and this is the one thing that I want to say with kind of coaching that I get frustrated with, is coaches, as healers, we're just your guides. Those, you have to do the work. You have to put the time in. You have to put the effort in. You have to face the darker aspects of your personality that you no longer want, and you have to be committed to yourself to actually make those changes. I
Wow.
always get frustrated when I see kind of posts, and you would have seen it. I mean, especially now with the pandemic. Oh, I'm an online coach and I can change your life in 6 weeks. Yeah.
Sure.
You can't change
Firstly,
anybody's life. They have to want to change themselves.
yeah.
Can you guide them through a process that helps them look at themselves in a different way so they're inspired to change? Absolutely. But the work comes from the individual.
Yes, everything from starts from within. That's for sure.
Yeah,
That's for sure.
yeah.
Hmm. Cool. Now, let me ask you about the theme of this podcast is leader with a heart. That is, people are building impactful businesses, businesses with a heart. What would you say? What cause are you most passionate about? Like, for example, for me, I'm passionate about helping people, especially the ones that have problems with their sight. That's why I'm launching a product, physical product, and for each unit I sell, I will be donating a pair of eyeglasses to people in need but can't afford them. So, for you, what would you say is a cause that is the dearest to your heart?
I think better education of children.
Mm,
It's not. It's. I've got to. Again, the I'll give her a shout out. She's got Happy Me app, and her and her daughter are working with children, parents and children, to actually. So we actually bring emotionally intelligent
hmm
kids into the world. They actually work with them as children, so we don't have these hang-ups as adults, so that we can produce a generation of emotionally intelligent adults. But in that, there is help for in the app, there is help with parenting. There is help, the kids can help themselves. They can learn to actually, they learn to do tapping, they learn to use mindfulness, they learn to meditate. um,
Beautiful.
it's amazing, amazing the work that they're actually doing. Brilliant.
Who's doing that? Sorry.
Her name is Joanne Pickles. She's a
Mm,
British lady with her daughter, and the app is called Happy Me. Now, the app for children is free, and the app for adults, so you can actually start to get yourself rolling and sorted, is, I think it's something like £2, something like that. And it's
okay.
brilliant because it does there's a lot of tools and modalities in there to help yourself. There's also positive affirmations, and also in there is it was the first app, I don't know whether it is now, but when she first developed it, it was the first app where you could actually record your own positive affirmations and add music to it, so you could
Wow.
make your own recording list and listen to that.
Amazing.
So
It would be
yeah.
amazing if these kind of things were taught at schools, because these are actually,
Wow.
it's funny and also sad because some of the most important life skills are not being taught at school. Like, for example, just like you said, meditating or negotiating, sales, um, being able to be financially literate, because a lot of people leave school with mountains of debt that they don't understand. I don't know if it's the same in the UK, but in Canada and the US, as soon as you step into a college, you're being offered credit cards as if they were
uh,
candies,
yeah, yeah,
and
it's
when you're
exactly
a
the same.
kid, you don't even know what it is. You just spend it, and once you realize you have like a, what, 20, $30,000 debt that you have to pay for, what the hell is that? So
There was a lovely post that I seen actually this morning saying just that. We have this education system. We make them now stay even longer than ever, because my parents, they could leave school at 12. I could leave school officially at 16, and now kids are not allowed to leave school until they're 18. Um,
mhm,
and the post said, what are they actually teaching them? Because they don't know how to grow their own food. They don't know how to build their own
absolutely,
home. They don't know how to
absolutely.
filter their own water. I mean, the essential basics, they do not know. They do not know how to function. And I always laugh at my daughter, because my daughter's she always uses her GPS on her phone whenever she's going anywhere. And I say, can't you read a map? I mean, she always did. She is able to read a map, but as she's getting older, because she doesn't have to now, she's
Oh yeah.
relying on the GPS. Well, if that disappears, I mean, and there's lots of people that just wouldn't know, aren't able to have a sense of direction because they've never had to use that. And we all have a sense of direction within us.
You mentioned the GPS on a map is another something similar, which is being able to make calculations in your head. Instead, they use
Ah,
the calculator on the
calculators.
phone. Yeah. Even
Yeah.
myself, I'm finding myself like doing some basic math. Is, holy cow, what's wrong with me?
The basic math I'm not doing, but what I have noticed, because I'm kind of like, I could be on my pedestal sometimes and go, oh, you keep doing this and you keep doing that and you need to be doing this and you get back to basics. So, stop, giving your mental capacity to machines. So I can get on my soapbox sometimes, and then I found myself, I don't remember a single telephone number anymore. When I was a
Yes,
kid, I used to remember all the telephone numbers I needed.
you had to
I
know your
couldn't tell
own.
you
You had to
one
know a
now.
few. Yeah, exactly. Sometimes I swear to you, even sometimes I don't even know my own. I have to. Someone asks me, I have to look on my phone.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
It's funny because the you mentioned the education system. I don't think there's we can objectively call them education system. It's more like a brainwashing system, or more even like something else. But it's definitely not education because they're not teaching some of the most invaluable skill. Like for example, God forbid if there was some catastrophe, less than 5% of the people will be able to survive in the wild, are
yeah.
able to to build a shelter, to hunt, to fish, just to survive. Nobody will do that.
And it's not so much, I mean, that is a very important part, but from me, from my aspect with the spirituality and actually getting people to be attuned to who they are, it's being stumped out. It's like a candle. The light from the candle is being stumped out before it's even allowed to get established. The creativity, the self expression, the self nurturing. No, you follow the regime, you go into that regime, you do their curriculum, and that's it. You're not allowed to be expressive. And we see it. There's so many kids now. I mean, look at the it's a horrific, and the energy, I'll kind of put that, because it is horrific, but the suicide rates of
Yes, yes,
children, because they're not allowed to be children. They're not allowed to play. They're not allowed to use their imagination. Very often, they're not allowed to go outdoors unsupervised. I mean, what kid wants to do that? I mean, I used to run free in the fields all
absolutely,
day, every day on the holidays, and I would only go
absolutely,
home when I was hungry. It's
absolutely. It was dark at night. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. I totally don't get me started on that because that we can do another podcast on that, but I don't want to get into right over as far as I'm concerned. I don't want to. I
it's
get you.
sad.
I
The
hear you.
system needs to change, but no, we cannot change it if nobody's willing to look at it.
There's a lot of things. Yes, the system is definitely in a big need of revamping. That's for sure. Um, Let me ask you some fun questions to finish. Um, do you have your own podcast?
I don't have my own podcast, but I do have my own channel. Yeah.
Beautiful. Okay. Well, what's the name of your channel?
Tales of an Empath.
Oh wait, wait. Let me just write this down. Okay. What is it again? Sorry.
Tales of an Empath.
Oh, down. Okay. Beautiful. I'll link it on the show note. Okay. So now imagine that today on your channel you have the most amazing, the most special guest ever, which is yourself. What would be the first question you would ask yourself and why?
First question I would ask myself.
Don't think too much. What is the
Why are you
first question
such a
that comes to
crazy
mind?
horse? Why are you such a crazy horse?
And what's your answer?
Because I can.
Oh wow. Beautiful. That is a good reason indeed. Okay. Now imagine now you have a time machine. You could go back to any time, any period in time, or go up in the future, any time period you want, whether it's 10 million in the future and the past. Which one would you go? Would you want to go to, and why?
I don't think I would.
Oh wow,
I'm meant to be here, right now, right here, right in this moment.
that's beautiful. You have a company in the background. I like it. Let it be. Let it be. Let it be. Let it be. Yeah, he was just squeezing his tail. That's fine. Okay, now if you could again, let's keep the time machine. Let's say now that you can travel in time and you can sit face to face with your 18-year-old self, knowing all that you know now. What would be the first piece of advice you would give to yourself, to your 18-year-old self?
Don't listen to other people.
Love that. Don't listen to others because yeah, sometimes they.
We're so programmed to not make mistakes. We're taught, don't make mistakes. I don't want, as parents, I've done it myself. I've said to my daughter, I've kind of tried to lead her down a path, to lead her away from what I perceived as trouble or fear
Mhm.
or blah, blah, blah. And actually, I was stifling her. I was stifling her from her own lessons. We're absolutely, we just need to step back and trust.
Yes, absolutely. So true. Now imagine that you could, let's say, God comes to you and says, it says, I will grant you one superpower for the rest of your life, but only one. Which one would it be?
Love for all humanity.
Oh, I love that. Okay, that's amazing.
Everybody
Beautiful.
feel their hearts. Because if everybody
Mm.
felt their hearts, we could do so much good instantly.
And love is the answer to all.
Oh, it is. It's just it's the frequency we all need to be getting to.
Absolutely. Now, I love having this kind of conversation. Spirituality, we can talk for hours, but we got to keep this short. So, do you have any parting tips for anyone that's looking to get more in tune with their own heart and become more spiritual?
Right. Whether they want to become spiritual or not, to get in tune with themselves. Okay. Because spiritual development can put a lot of people off. They're like, oh no, I don't want to go down that road. But personal development is exactly the same. It's getting to know yourself. So
Hmm.
meditation, mindfulness, just when you feel anxiety, when you're stuck in a problem, when you're stuck in your head, just take a deep breath and take it to your heart
Mm,
and let your heart give it a big hug, and to continue hugging it until it feels better, and then think about a solution.
amazing. Love that. I can see that. Wow. What's the best way to connect with you if people want to reach out to you?
I've got my Facebook page, I've got website
What's your face?
claireatyeo.com.
What's your
Facebook
Facebook page?
page is Claire Atyeo Athena.
Okay. Yeah, I'll link it up.
Website is www.claireatyeo.com. We've got the YouTube channel, which is Tales of an Empath. Um, and obviously, I'm on LinkedIn under Claire Atyeo as well. And Instagram, Claire Atyeo Athena. And
Awesome.
something will pop up.
I'll definitely put all these. It has to. Yeah. I'll definitely put in the show. Listen, Claire, I would love to keep talking with you because we're kindred spirit, and I love having this conversation with enlightened, not only enlightened entrepreneurs, but enlightened soul. I can see it. I can feel your vibe frequency despite the distance. You're a beautiful soul, and we definitely will keep in touch. We'll definitely do maybe a follow up in a few months. But I salute you. You're a true, not only leader with a heart, but an enlightened soul. Keep doing what you're doing. Keep shining your light, your positive light in the world. Stay safe. Stay awesome. God bless. Have a great one, my friend.
Thank you. And you too.
Thank you very much. Take care. Bye bye.
Bye bye.